What do deadlift partial reps benefit? Some people in the comments would say nothing, but we'll address that in a future video. The main benefits of rack pulls are 1. Improving your lockout strength for the deadlift. 2. They make you feel more confident in holding heavier weights, sometimes even more than your 1 rep max. And 3, they are an exercise that you can usually do more volume of than deadlifts if you want to get more lifts done that strengthen the same muscles that deadlifts strengthen. There's some evidence like this 2014 study in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning that showed partial reps combined with full range of motion reps actually improved maximal strength more than just using full range of motion reps on their own. And then there was this 2021 study which showed partial range of motion training elicited favorable muscle and strength adaptations. What was interesting about this study was they separated the people into 4 training groups. One group which only did the initial range of motion of the exercise, so like the lockout essentially, another group that did full range of motion, another group that only did like the beginning of the lift, so like the start of the lift, and then another group that had varied range of motion throughout training. They found that the group that used the partial ROM, like the lockout ROM, in their training actually saw the greatest muscle and strength adaptations. Now granted, this is one study and it had a very tiny sample size, but there is some evidence to show that partial ROMs are very useful in training for building strength and hypertrophy. However, there's a mountain of evidence, which I've cited before, I won't bore you by citing it now, that full range of motion exercises in general are better for building muscle and strength, but partial range of motion has a good amount of evidence to show that it is a useful strategy for building muscle and strength when used properly. Partial ROM training increases your confidence when lifting heavy weights because it's easier to do a partial ROM rack pull than it is to do a deadlift. Now granted, my reasoning for this is mostly anecdotal and also personal experience, but I have seen for both myself and my clients that we get more confident when lifting heavier weights if we have some experience actually holding that weight before we lift it. Hence why some powerlifters do heavy walkouts on squats or why we do partial ranges of motion on deadlifts. It is well established in the literature that the RPE, or rating of perceived exertion, of a lift is correlated to your potential strength development. I.e., if you're lifting weights that feel really hard, like you're trying to increase your max by lifting heavier weights and the difficulty goes up, it actually is probably going to harpoon your long-term strength development. In my experience, psychologically, training and doing these partial lifts really heavy can make your full range of motion lift feel a little bit easier, so it mentally lowers your RPE a little bit, which leads to positive outcomes long term. And finally, accumulating more reps. Full range of motion exercises will be generally more effective on a rep for rep basis for hypertrophy and strength. However, you will be able to perform more partial reps with more weight before fatiguing. Therefore, if you need to get more experience doing only a specific portion of a lift without fatiguing yourself, partial range of motion is useful here. I'm out of time. Make sure you follow Johnny Reps Fitness.